Well, welcome to my Military Appreciation Month celebration. I'm Lacey Langford, the military money expert. I help the military community make, save, and invest money wisely. Many of you know that military is near and dear to my heart. And if you were here yesterday, you know it even more. I grew up an Army brat. I served in the Air Force, and I'm a military spouse. Plus, I'm really into personal finance. I'm an accredited financial counselor. So I love to help the military community improve their finances. And this is a special month, May. So throughout the month of May, I'm doing a series of events to provide value and show appreciation for the entire military community. So I'll be doing a live show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the month for military appreciation, where I'll be interviewing fun guests on military life, money, and entrepreneurship. Every Tuesday, I'll be hosting a giveaway, which we have a really fun one out right now. You can win a $100 Amazon gift card and 3 free coaching sessions with me, business or financial coaching. It's the winner's choice. And on Thursdays, I'll be releasing a how-to video. And yesterday, I released a how to build and fix your credit video. So there is still a lot more to come this month. So you'll definitely have to stay tuned. You can get the latest on all my activities if you find and follow me on social media. Support for this show and my Military Appreciation Month celebration comes from Self. Whether you need to establish or rebuild credit from scratch, Self can help you build credit and savings to achieve your dreams. You can learn more at Self.inc. All right. Let's get this party started. Today is the second day of my interviews, and it's time for my guest, Ryan J. Clark. Ryan is the founder and president of Qube Money, which I'm a fan of. That is why I want him here. He began his career in in the real estate market, flipping 5 houses at the age of 18, which I think is crazy. Later, as a mortgage broker, he found that his true passion was teaching people about money. In 2004, Ryan entered financial services industry, where he became an award-winning financial planner. He is also the author of The Order of Wealth. So wherever you're watching from, even if it's to the gym, maybe don't clap, but you could yell. Please give a real loud welcome to Ryan. Hey, Ryan.
Hello, that's quite the intro. Thank you.
Yes, I'm trying to build it up,
It was great. Thank you.
I need to cue it up. Do you see my emojis?
I do.
The clapping.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I really think I went above and beyond on the encouraging clapping where everybody is watching.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I really am a fan of Qube Money. I love what you guys are doing. So this is going to be fun for me.
Well, thank you, Lacey. Thank you.
I have to give a confessional, though. I feel like I was in the Qube beta testing, and I just want to tell you that I didn't do a great job as a beta tester. I feel really guilty about it, and I needed to get that off my chest before we started.
Well, that explains a lot, and that's why we didn't have as much good feedback, and it took us longer. But now I understand. So thank you. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. Totally. So if there's any hiccups, it's Lacey's fault.
Lacey didn't give us the right feedback. That's right.
Yes. No. Yes. Well, I want to start off with asking you, what is Qube? Because some people may have not heard about what it is and what you're doing, but I want to know what it is and how it's helping people manage money.
Awesome. So Qube really came out of my frustration as a financial planner and coach. I did that for about 13, 14 years. And I got frustrated because what I wanted for clients that I knew would really help them did not exist in the marketplace. What I wanted was a way that they could really experience the power of cash envelopes. But like so many of my clients, I also did not like cash. I loved what it could do. And when people would use it, when I had used it, it was amazing. But it was always short term because it was cash, and our society has mostly gone digital. I mean, for me, I like walking out the door with my phone, and that's it, because I like minimalistic living. I don't want to have a bunch of stuff in my pockets, just make it easy. So anyway, so I got frustrated, and the genesis story is simply that I was writing the book, the Order of Wealth, and that book was designed to really be kind of a training program for my clients so they can understand all of my philosophy and the program that I have. But as I was doing that, I was putting together the cash flow portion, and I wasn't satisfied. I didn't have anything new, anything unique, really, that I felt was really powerful. So it was kind of in that mindset when I began working with a couple out of Texas. And this couple made amazing money, about $250,000 a year. And they had made that for 10 years. And you'd think that kind of money, no financial problems. But it's not true, right? They they had all the nicest cars. They had a nice big house. They had the best seats at every event and game and whatever, and no money. They had about $30,000 to the name after 10 years of making that income. So don't anyone think out there that more money solves all your problems. It can help, but only if you also have a good defensive strategy, right? A discipline of how to keep your money, right? And that's really the name of the game. So I started working with this couple, put them on what I thought was the latest and greatest technology for budgeting. And sure enough, like it happens to so many of us, 3, 4, 5 months in or so, they fell off. And this was so frustrating for me. I said, I know what I want. I want a system that can't be bypassed. I want a system that is the bank and the budget all in one, just like cash envelopes is, right? If you want to use the system, it holds the money. So it's the bank and the budget. I wanted something like that. So I went to a friend of mine that was in the payment processing space, as a developer in that space, and I said, is something like this possible? And what initially was a lunch meeting turned into a 3-hour meeting, and we filled up a whole yellow pad of ideas and what could possibly work. 6 months later, we filed a patent, and now that was about 5 years ago. So it's been a journey.
Wow. I bet that lunch is very memorable now, looking back on it.
That's a very memorable lunch.
I think the envelope system, that's how I grew up. I was taught to use the envelope system, and I started bagging groceries. That was my very first job, I think, when I was 14 years old. And that was cash that I received. And it was actually a lot of cash for a 14-year-old that I made on Saturdays and Sundays. And that's how my dad taught me all of us, there's 4 of us, taught us to manage the money was, you have envelopes and this is how you do it. This is your, spend on junk food, because there wasn't a lot of things that I was spending my money on at that point, but, saving, giving, those type of things. And going into adulthood, that you're right. Now you get the bank in the middle of it, and it's hard to manage it all.
Yeah, it really does. The power of cash envelopes, there's multiple parts of it, but the real power that it has, the biggest power, is that it's the only system that you have to use before a purchase. And this was one of the key factors that I identified as its main strength. Every other budgeting system out there, every one of them, whether it's a napkin, an Excel spreadsheet, or the latest and greatest app, is a reactionary type of a system. You spend and then they can track, but that doesn't actually influence the purchase in that moment. So you have to have a system that can get into the, really be there in the present, in that very moment and help you determine what you're going to do before you do it. And that comes by asking 2 really simple questions. Where's the money coming from, and do I have enough? And that's the main thing that cash envelopes does so well, right? You have to choose which envelope is the money coming out of. You have to see if you have enough to then remove it and pay. So what we've done with Qube is we've obviously digitized that behavior. So just like with cash envelopes, Qube arms you with the app and a debit card. So you have those 2 pieces. And then when you go to the store, if you just swipe the debit card, it's going to fail. Because just like cash envelopes requires you to answer those 2 questions. Where's the money coming from, and do I have enough? It requires you to do that before you spend. And what's amazing with that, by creating a little bit of friction at the right time, you empower people with choice. Whereas before, people often are very worried. Do I have enough? And they're doing this mental math game that they do right in the line. And they've got the pressure of purchasing. And so naturally, they're going to default to yes, because how are they going to say no when they're right there in the aisle or in line trying to buy? So people overspend, they forget about that quarterly insurance payment or whatever, and an overdraft hits or something or whatever, right? But they're not given the right information at the right time to make the best decisions. And they don't have to. It's so easy just to swipe and go. In fact, studies have shown that just swiping with the card increases spending by anywhere from 20 to 100%. There was a new study we saw just recently that is way up there. So it's pretty significant. But Qube mimics that behavior. So you have to go to the app. You just simply tap and spend. It's that easy. Just make that choice. I'm spending from groceries. I'm spending from clothing. You tap it and you swipe. Done. No more budgeting.
I was going to ask this question, what sets Qube apart from other budgeting? But I think that really answers it, that you are making these decisions before you spend. Because a lot of people, for example, in the military community, people know exactly when they're going to get paid to the minute. a lot of times. If that minute gets messed up, there's some real issues. But unfortunately, people need that minute that they're waiting to buy groceries. I've heard stories of people actually waiting in the checkout line to purchase food because that's the moment they get paid. So they're making these calculations and decisions, but they're doing it the opposite way. I love that Qube is putting that as forward thinking instead of being reactionary.
Right. It's a proactive spending method versus reactive, and it changes the entire environment of your money. It's extremely powerful. And that's why cash envelopes for the last 100 years has been the best spending behavior change system. Every guru, even today, will talk about that system because it's so powerful, and it's powerful because of several elements, but the biggest being it gets in front of the purchase. It's the only system that gets in front of the purchase. And Qube is the only financial online banking solution out there that gets in front of the purchase. Now, what is cool is some people, they don't want that type of rigidity. They're like, oh, I have to open my app to spend. Whoa. Yet everyone's doing that. If you've heard of a thing called Apple Pay or Android Pay, you're going to your phone and either double clicking or doing something, some kind of interaction, and then you're tapping it. So it's just a slight change. In fact, let me just demonstrate, because this concern comes up a lot. People are like, oh, I have to do all that. It sounds like so much. So I'm just going to demonstrate if I can here, Lacey. So I've got my phone.
Yep.
Let's see, where's my camera? Right there.
Yeah, right there.
So I'm going to open the app. It's loading.
Loading.
It's got to see my face. I hope everyone's timing. I tap. Done. I'm going to double click. And there we are. And I tap. So that was a little bumpy because I'm flipping it back and forth.
Yeah.
But that's the amount of time that it takes to go in, make a quick choice. I'm spending from groceries. I'm spending from entertainment. And then double click and Apple Pay, and it's awesome. I've got obviously an iOS Apple phone, but Android Pay works the same way. It's super fast. And if I have to, so I've got this cool case that I really like. That's pretty stiff because I don't have to use my cards very often, but I can go to the back of my phone. I can pull out my card and I can swipe that if I need to. So, but it's super fast is the point. It's so easy, but it's so empowering for the person to make a decision at the right time and know they're spending from the right category. It's so much better than having to, at the end of the week, after you've forgotten about everything that you spent money on, trying to go back in and categorizing everything and spending an hour doing that and then trying to review it with your spouse. And yeah.
It makes it more complicated. Can you say those two questions you ask again? Because I really want to drive that home. I think those are so important that people do ask that before they make a purchase.
Yeah. Where's the money coming from? And do I have enough?
Yes.
So what most people do is they do it reactionary, right? So they'll say, this one should be in this category, and oh shoot, I overspent. Yeah. There's no power in the past. Well, very little power in the past to influence the present. It's like driving a car, looking at the rearview mirror. You're going to crash.
Yes, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, what you need. So I mean, and the car companies know that. They don't put your speedometer in the rearview mirror. This is how fast you've been driving. They put it in front of you, right? That's where it needs to be, because that can influence where you're going. So Qube does the same thing. It requires you to have to take a moment, pause real fast, make a choice. But I was going to say, if someone does feel like that's just way too much, there is an option in Qube where you can change the settings and you can create an always open Qube. So you could have like Ryan's Fun Money and always have that on, and then you can just swipe, but you know that it's all of that is coming out of that one Qube, which is still going to have a limit. Maybe you and your spouse decided to put, a $500 cap on that, and that's what I get for the month. And I can go swipe happy, but it's going to be at $500. So you can design Qube how you want. It defaults the way that I was talking about, where you have to select each time. And I think that's incredibly powerful. But some people feel like it's too much. So however you want, you can craft Qube to work for you.
I love that you can have an open Qube because, for example, I have a lot of young soldiers that, just on the weekends, they want to go live, which they work very hard for their money. They're gone a lot. I get it. But you can't have a blank check for going out on Saturday night. You just can't do that. And so I'm always
Mm-mm.
like, hey, you have to have like some type of system here. And so that's really cool. They could actually create a cube for their Saturday night.
Totally. Yeah. Do Saturday night or weekend fun. And
Yeah.
they put money into it on purpose. Actually, this is an amazing thing because oftentimes we go out and we're spending, but we don't really have a limit. We haven't really thought about it. It's kind of like, can I afford this? I don't really know. And because all the money is in one bucket, it's all mixed and it's messy. And so people get a horrible amount of anxiety and this bad relationship with money because they haven't planned proactively. Right. What Qube does is it allows you to sit down when you get paid. You can say, I'm going to put $200 into my weekend fund money. And now you just gave yourself permission to spend that money.
Yes.
And then, turn it on the whole weekend. You can go in there and you can have it on for 2 days. You can turn it on all week and you just turn it on until you turn it off. So you can design it that way. And then you could leave your phone at home. If you're at the beach, for example, a lot of people don't want to carry the phone around, but they might take their card. Totally fine. You can do that. Just turn it on. There's also concerns about Wi-Fi. I know when I was traveling through Texas a while ago, the pump for gas would take a card, but there was no signal at all for miles. It was a huge dead zone. So for that whole trip, I turned the Qube on all weekend because I was traveling and I knew that might happen, and it wasn't a problem. So there's lots of scenarios where you may just want to leave it on, but you can always tie it to whichever Qube you want. So you're maintaining that proactivity, if you will.
Yes. I want to talk about goals when it comes to Qube. How can you use Qubes to help you with your financial goals? Because most of the time people have something that's what's driven them to the envelope system is they're trying to make some type of change, trying to get out of debt. They're trying to save more for emergencies or for retirement or that trip to Disney, whatever it is. How can Qube help out?
This is such a wonderful thing. Too many people, when they do their finances, they leave saving and plans and goals last, right? They're going to spend all their money and then whatever's left over, they'll put it away. But generally what happens is they're going to spend whatever and then they just spend everything else and no one gets around to saving. What Qube allows you to do, the way that it works is just like cash envelopes. So if you think about cash envelopes, the whole process there was you'd go to the bank, you'd get cash out, and then you had to go and put that proactively into different envelopes, right? So you were proactively allocating your money into various buckets of purpose, or piggy banks with purpose, you could call them, right? Food, that weekend fun money, entertainment, clothing, whatever you want. A vacation, Disneyland. Okay. So the genius here with this system, and I'm not taking any credit on this because I did not create this part, we just mimicked it inside of Qube, is that you take your thousands of dollars and you want to divide it up. You want to give it purpose before you're at the store and needing it, right? So you take that time to design how you want your life to go. I want $200 in clothing. I want $200 for the weekend fun money. I want $500 going to my adventure fund. I have one of those. And so you start filling it up. For if you're saving for a new truck, it's $200 a month, and you can put that in there proactively, and you can see how all the money gets split up, and you can change it around. Because the truth is, we all have money to where we can do anything, but not everything.
Right.
Right. It's making decisions and it's weighing out your priorities. And Qube facilitates that better than anything else because you're also dealing with real money. When you move money into a Qube, it really moves there. It's like a little mini bank account, right? Whereas a lot of budget systems, it's nebulous and it's not real, which makes it harder for a lot of people to really have that. Well, it's less tangible. When we were all dealing with cash, it was also really easy to see everything.
Yes.
And then, so Qube helps facilitate that because when you move money somewhere, it's really there. But that's the idea. You want to do all that beforehand. You design your life with your money before you get to the store, before you get there, and then you can systematically just put the money away, and it makes it really easy.
I like that you brought up the point about people have the money, but it's how you intend to spend it, your goals. And I actually caught myself with my kids is in the store. Yeah, they're asking like for everything under the sun. And I'm like, we don't have money for that. Like, we don't have money for that. And then I was like, no, I'm just saying that as a quick, like off the cuff thing, like get off my back. I just want to make it through Target and get what I actually needed and get out of here. But I just started to really stop and say, we have money for that, but that's not in our plan. This was not something that we intended to buy. We came in here with a goal of whatever it was, laundry detergent, and we're putting our money towards other things like, hey, that trip, that we talked about, we're going on, or, you want that new bike. These are the things we're saving for. This isn't something that we planned for. And so it's just kind of a impulse buy. And so I started having those conversations instead of saying we don't have the money for it. I point out now, oh, no, we do have money for it. I'm just not buying that.
Yeah. And that's so empowering too, Lacey. Exactly what you're talking about is it's a mindset shift also. Imagine if all your kids, if all they ever heard was, we don't have enough, we don't have enough, we don't have money for that, we don't have, they start growing up with this mentality of we don't have. When the truth is that mom and dad or mom or dad have money, but we also have priorities.
Right.
And I think that's so empowering for anyone in the decision-making process, period, in any scenario, but especially with money, is to say, you know what? Yeah, I could do that, but this is a higher priority for me. I'm choosing to put my money here. I think what's cool with this, we have some couples that I've talked with, they're talking about, so pretty soon we're going to have our kid cards out where kids will be able to be unified with mom and dad in one wonderful banking system. And finally, parents will be able to not only just teach great concepts of money, but also help the children implement them through the same system. So that'll be great. But right now, what we've been seeing is that the children they say, hey, mom, have you refilled your cubes this month? Or have we put money into that cube for the junk food at the store and the junk food cube or whatever? But they start to realize, yeah, mom and dad, they have all this money, and each cube represents a purpose, and they can see it, and they get to support it and realize, oh yeah, we're not going to do that because we're choosing to do Disneyland this year. And they see how choices empower and support life instead of it being a limiting factor. We don't have enough. It's instead, oh, we have enough, but we want to do these things, top priority things. So people live more on purpose.
Yes, I love that. Growing up, I was blessed that I had a mom and dad that really talked about money and lessons and things like that. And we were always given the basics. So my dad made it clear, if you want an upsell, that's on you. So if you want fancier jeans, you want nicer shoes, like, we're going to make sure, we're going to keep you alive. We're going to keep you clothes. We're going to keep a roof over your head. But, it's like, we don't have a blank check for your clothing budget. We don't have a blank check for, Doritos or whatever junk. It was like, hey, we might get some soda for Friday night, but we're just not going to, there's water, there's, other things. And so I think that's really cool that you're adding this component for kids, because you can have these valuable conversations, and it's not just a conversation, it's them taking action. I love that. That kind of brings me to my next question is, how can families and couples use Qube? So that was one thing with the physical envelope system, is that, let's say, grocery money or food money. If I had the envelope and my husband wanted to stop for me on the way home from the grocery store, it's like, oh crap, now you're, cash is coming out of somewhere else. And, so there was these little hiccups. How is Qube in the digital age helping with some of that management of couples?
Well, with the logistic problems that you just mentioned, those are all gone.
Yep.
Qube really solves every problem that cash envelopes ever had. Logistics being a big one. Well, who's got the envelope? And then you're spending out of somewhere else and having to refund, and it was just really annoying. It made it really hard, and there was this big chore. But yeah, with Qube, each couple or each spouse or each partner has all their cubes all the time. So you just tap and spend. It's really, really simple. Another problem is ledgering. You see online a lot of these gals that love cash envelopes, and they're great at it, and they have their envelope and it's all pretty with flowers and everything, and they flip it over and they have to do their own ledgering. Yes. And their math every time they spend. I don't know, ladies, I'm amazed at how many ladies love to do that.
It's like a list. Me. I'm like that. I love to cross it off. I just, it's.
I get that. I get that part, but I don't want to sit there and have to do math every time. Because I'm sure I've got 5 kids, and I know how it can be coming out of the store with 5.
Trying to do math.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, kids, everyone buckle up. Let me just calculate what I just did here. Oh my, that's a lot. So Qube eliminates that problem. Really, what Qube does is it empowers the person at the right time to do the thing that humans are best at, which is making decisions, weighing out priorities, that thing. All of the mechanical pieces with managing your money and everything, Qube takes care of that, makes it really simple. It's going to do all the heavy lifting. You just have to make the choices, and you make them at the right time, which is exactly what you really want, right? So another thing that is really near and dear to me is money with couples. Inherently in every couple, one's a spender or more of a spender, and the other one's more of a saver. Every couple's like that. So if you feel like you're that way, welcome. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Every couple I've ever worked with, it was always like that.
Yeah.
So, but naturally, what each partner wants is they just want a cap. Like a big problem with relationships and the relationship dynamics with money is you'll have one that doesn't want to be micromanaged, but the other one doesn't feel safe because that one just goes and does the blank check thing that you were talking about, right? So there needs to be controls and communication, and Qube also facilitates that. You get together when you get paid and you say, how much do we want to put into clothing? Okay, $200. Now that's the cap. They both agree to it. If there's a change in the plan, like let's say she's down at the store, she's down to $20. I'm just picking on the ladies here, but this could go for guys as well. Guys typically will spend more money on tech, girls on the clothing, right? But it's the same thing.
I don't know. I've seen some guys on like sneakers. Young
true.
Soldiers, like they'll spend some serious money on sneakers.
That is true. That is so true. In fact, one of my neighbors, I found out the other day, he and I were doing a video meeting like this. He just lives up the street from me, but he's in his garage, and the whole back right behind him are boxes, shoe boxes. I'm like, his name is Mike, and I was like, Mike, what on earth are all those shoe boxes doing? And he's like, oh yeah, I have this thing.
I know Mike. I know people like Mike.
yeah. So whatever floats your boat. But as long as there's a cap on it, it's cool, right? And so, but when it's out of control and there's no limit, then the other one's going to start feeling robbed, and then that hurts the relationship. So naturally, so what we do in Qube is we facilitate more communication. If one of the partners changes the plan, so if I move $200 from Disneyland vacation into clothing, she's going to get a message. Hey, Ryan just did this.
Heads up, that money's not going to be there.
Yep. So Ryan felt like shoes were more important than Mickey. Right. And now there's this conversation at the right time, which is as early as possible, rather than a week later or a month, or when you get there, like, where'd the money go? Yeah. Right. Or you spent how much on what? And the value, they don't value that thing like the other partner does. And then you do that over time, and that creates divorce because it's a trust factor. So Qube actually has as one of our missions. It's one of the primary elements in our mission statement is to reduce the divorce rate in America by 1%. So it's a big thing for us, and it starts with communication, because communication builds trust. Transparency builds trust. So that little message that gets sent is one element that we do. The first and the most important is when the couple sits down and decides how they want their money to be allocated. That's the most important piece. Another feature that we don't quite have out yet, but it's on the roadmap, is a lock where you can lock down a particular cube. So let's say you've got the Mickey Mouse cube.
Or that Saturday night cube.
Or the Saturday night cube, and you don't want him or her touching it on accident because they needed those sneakers. You can lock it down, and then if someone wants to change the plan, if they want to move money out of it or spend from it, the other one has to agree as well. So it creates a dual permission type of a scenario versus the one just spending and, oh, sorry, the money's gone. So again, you can craft Qube how you want it. These are all settings and customizations that people can put in to make the system work the way they want it to. But ideally with a couple, we're facilitating communication, we're increasing transparency and allowing that couple to really unite over money and not be destroyed over it. Quick story, I was talking to a couple recently. He's a CPA. She's a wonderful mom. They've got 4 kids. And for years and years, Lacey, she would try to execute the plan that him and her had come up with, and she could never do it. She'd always eventually run out onto the credit card. And he was always frustrated. He was patient, but she mostly did all the spending, and he made the money. It was a scenario like that. He really didn't spend very much, and she just felt like such a loser and a failure that she couldn't do this. She wanted to, but she just felt like she was off all the time and didn't know what to do. They'd tried lots of different things. Nothing worked. In 3 months on Qube, she said she was on every single month. their relationship was better. And she said it even improved their sex life. So I'm feeling great about it.
So you're like, I've done my goodwill.
Yeah. But really, we want to have money should be a unifying thing, because money is just a resource. It allows you to live life, but like any resource, it has to be managed correctly. And when that can be done in a unified approach, it can unite and pull the couple together, because they're accomplishing dreams. They're living the way they want. And that's really what we're after.
Yes, I love the communication part, because that really is huge with couples and money. Every time somebody comes in, it's like, that's what the real root of the problem here. And that's why a lot of times they go to financial coaches and planners, advisors, because they need a neutral third party to point out to eat. Because a lot of times it's both of them doing a little something, like one being a little too controlling and the other one being a little too free or whatever it is. But I love that you guys. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, doing this and sharing all this information about Qube. I'm very excited that every time you guys just keep improving on it. Can you tell everybody watching where they can learn more about Qube and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, so it's Qube Money with a Q. Qube Money, there it is, QubeMoney.com. That's the website. There's lots of information on there. You just go there, and then you can click on Get Started to sign up for an account, download the app, and you're good to go.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right. I also want to say thank you to Self for the work they do to help others build credit and savings. To learn more about Self and their credit builder accounts, visit Self.inc. And I also want to give you this last heads up from Self. You can find links to find and follow me on social media as well as Self, and they'll be in the description below. Be sure to stay tuned as I continue the celebration with another Live with Lacey on Monday. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you on Monday.